right, we're going live.
Okay.
Oh, it's trying to give me hard times. Come on, don't give me hard times now. All right, we are live. So thank you for joining us. If you are on the Facebook platform, if you are on YouTube, Twitch TV, or LinkedIn, we are live. And so good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be around the world. I'm excited to have our guest who is with us. I wanted to ask each of you to drop in the comments right now. Are you a champion? Tell me your answer. Are you a champion? Are you a champion? Does a champion live in you? Drop that in the comments wherever you are on whichever platform to let us know that you are tracking with us. And we're going to try to track with you across multiple platforms as we stream through Restream. We are on all of these platforms with you and want you to know that your comments matter to us. Why don't you click share right now and tag someone to join us in the conversation? We are speaking tonight with author, pastor, I said speaker, activist. I gave you a whole bunch of titles. Edward Turner, who is here with us, and we are excited to have him here and to talk with him about his book that I hope that you will purchase. And we will get right into the topic. I'm just going to track with each platform just to let you know I see you wherever you are. And I hope that you see us and are dropping in the comments. Dropping in the comments, just, are you a champion? Answer that question for us. Is there a champion in you? All right, is there a champion in you? Checking on. All right. Is there a champion in you? Click share and tag someone to join us in the discussion. All right, let's see a few of you that are here on our Facebook platform with us. On the Marcus Our Homes page, I'm tracking with you on Love and Stuff as well. Make sure you are there with us. Dylan Chambers is here with us. Thank you, sir. Appreciate everybody that is joining us on the platforms. And I hope that you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. All right, see some folks joining us on LinkedIn. If you will just drop in the comments, are you a champion? Are you a champion? Is there a champion in you? I want to see your answers and be able to share them with others. Is there a champion on the inside of you? All right, just checking in on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much. Those of you that are following us there, thank you so much. And we would love it if you click share and tag someone to join us in the discussion. All right. So welcome, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Marcus, with you, and I appreciate the work that you're doing to inform and enlighten and encourage individuals all across this country. You're doing a great work.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm trying to do right in the corner where I am. We believe in the Love and Stuff community that we're all called to up our love game, right?
Yes.
And that really love is the consideration that our world is missing.
Right.
And so as much as I can provide any way to elevate any voice so that someone walks away and says, hey, I need to work at loving myself, then I can love God and I can love my neighbor and I can love the world. Anything we can do to promote that as a platform, we're honored to be able to do. So thank you so much. And so tell us a little bit about Edward Turner. Like I said, pastor, speaker, activist. I say activist because I believe you're the president of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. State Convention, correct?
Yes, I am.
So I want to talk a little bit about that, of course. And father, you mentioned. And so tell us a little bit about yourself and how did it come to the place where you wrote this dynamic book that we're going to talk a little bit about?
Well, thank you again, Marcus. I came to the place in writing this book because as I was preaching a sermon some years ago, and I was focusing on Jesus in Philippians, the 2nd chapter and the fifth verse, where it said, let this mind be in you, that was also in Christ Jesus.
Mhm.
And if you read Philippians 2:5 through 11, people can get the full context of that.
Mhm.
And so I entitled it The Mind of a Champion.
Mm.
And so as I began to reflect one day, as I stated previously, on my mother who had passed away in 2016, matter of fact, uh, December 24th,
Wow.
Christmas Eve,
Christmas Eve.
2016.
Wow.
Uh, Maybe a year later, I began to reflect on her sacrifice, her love, her commitment. She was an entrepreneur. She
Mm.
owned her own beauty salon, who she passed on to my sister, who is still, uh, you know, an entrepreneur and keeping her legacy alive in that way. And I began to think about my grandmother and my grandparents and
Mhm.
how they instilled in us certain principles, a mindset to be the very best that we can be.
Mhm.
And so I began to write and add on to this message, this sermon that I preached. And I thought it would be an inspiration to individuals all the way from youth, all the way up to corporate America, whatever field you're working in,
Mhm.
just to have some nuggets of wisdom, inspiration, motivation
Mhm.
that you can kind of look to when you're feeling defeated, when you're feeling depressed, when you're feeling discouraged in life. And I began to put pen to paper and write this motivational piece. It's not a long piece, but it is a piece that I know that will bring encouragement and enlightenment and motivation, because those who have purchased it have also shared with me thus far that they have been blessed by it. And
Okay.
so that's the initial motivation for this book. Yeah.
Okay. And so let's go back a little so that our listeners and viewers can learn a little bit more about you.
Mhm.
You're from what area and where did you go to school? How did your journey land you into pastoring? Tell us a little bit more about Edward C. Turner.
Edward C. Turner. I was born in Gary, Indiana.
Right here in the Midwest.
Yeah,
Midwest.
most people haven't heard about Gary, and the only if they've heard about it, they know Michael Jackson
That's right.
is from Gary in 2300 Jackson Street in Gary, Indiana.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so therefore, I was born here to my mother and father, Nancy and Eddie Turner, at
Okay.
that time. And so uh, I've been in the ministry now. This year will be my 21st year in the ministry.
Wow.
Most people think I'm younger than what I am,
Okay.
and I'm a little older. And I'm in my 15th year of pastoral ministry.
Yeah, I would look at you and say that you're pretty young for 21 years in ministry, but yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And so I'm pastoring my second church. My
Okay.
first church I pastored for right at 10 years, and I've been at this church going on 5 years.
Okay.
And so it's been a very blessed journey. I was an athlete in high school, and I ran track and cross country. And
Okay.
I put this in my book because I wanted people to understand that you never know your abilities until you open yourself up to try something different.
That's
Now, I
good.
remember my freshman year in high school, uh, I was looking for basketball. I love basketball. And I, I went to the gym in my high school, West Side High School in Gary, Indiana. I went to the gym in August, and I looked around and I said, "Where's everybody at?" Because I was looking for basketball tryout. And there was a guy coming through the back doors of our gymnasium, and he said, "Can I help you?" Because I looked bewildered. And I said, "I'm looking for basketball tryouts." He said to me, he said, "That's not until the fall." And he asked me a question: "Do you want to run cross country?" And I say this, and people will laugh because I wasn't familiar with cross country at that time.
Mhm.
And so I thought for a moment. I said, "We're going to be running in different places of the country or the state." And so I said, "Yes." See, Marcus, you can laugh. Go ahead and laugh. And I said, "Yes." And Marcus, he took me out to the practice field. He had me running. And that was the start of my
Wow.
career in running.
Wow.
And I never knew that I could run in that capacity. And by the end of my senior year, I received scholarships
Wow.
in track and cross country to colleges that were after me at
Wow.
that time.
Yeah, I will talk a little bit more about that because I think when you talk about your core values, I think a lot of people we discount being open because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so how can you ever really achieve any level of greatness if you're not open to being exposed to what you don't know? A lot of times we say, well, I wouldn't do this or I wouldn't do that, but you never know what potential you have lying beneath if you don't open yourself up to that. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that, because there are so many people that discount themselves
Mhm.
because they, like you stated, they don't see the potential that lies within them. And you
Mhm.
have to be open to opportunity. Now, I'm
Mhm.
not saying every opportunity,
Mhm.
and you have to have a level of discernment
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
understand,
Mhm.
and to be led and guided, because I try to inform people that you will never discover your purpose until you understand your passion.
Mhm.
You have to pay attention to your passion,
Mhm.
and your passion will lead you to your purpose.
Mhm.
And I've had, and let me say this, and you may get to this later on, and I can revisit it. But you were asking me to tell you about me,
Mhm.
Marcus. I learned in life that in order to succeed, you have to learn how to fail.
Mhm.
You have to learn how to lose.
Yeah.
I don't mind talking about my challenges in life. I've been divorced,
Okay.
uh, and I've had to go through different situations that caused me a great deal of pain. But I
Mhm.
had to learn how to lose in order to win.
Mhm.
And I did not allow the defeats in my life to keep me down.
Mhm.
I learned how to get up. And I learned that from one lesson when I was my senior year in high school. For the first time, we were at the semi-state meet. And in the first 40 meters of the race, I fell down for the first time. All 4 years I've been running, I fell down. My
Mhm.
last, maybe potentially my last race. And I fell down, and I thought in that moment, Edward, are you going to stay here, or are you going to get up and run?
Mhm.
And I had to think about that fast. Marcus, I got up and I began to run.
Mhm.
And when I fell, I got up, and at the end of the race, I ran the best time I've ever ran
Wow.
in my cross, because I made a decision to get up.
Wow. Yeah. I want to double back. I appreciate your transparency. I thought I was going to ask this, or you were going to lead us down this path. You said that you have been divorced. So you were in a marriage, no longer in the marriage. What lessons about getting back up or resiliency did you learn from that situation? We talk a lot about love
Right.
in this community. So most people think of love just in love, husband, wife, boyfriend,
Right.
girlfriend, but of course we know it's much more broad than that. But I know viewers are going to want to hear, of course, now they know you're single, so I can't control your inbox of what may happen. God bless you. But they know that you're single. But
Right.
so for people out there who feel like I failed at my marriage, I failed, right?
Right.
And you got up in your example in the track.
Right.
What would you say to people about resiliency, about after a relationship that doesn't work out?
Well, I believe the first thing you have to do is you have to assess yourself.
Mhm.
You cannot always blame the other individual, even
Mhm.
though they may have contributed to it.
Mhm.
You have to look at yourself. Because even in that moment that I said I failed, I had to assess myself. What are you going to do now?
Mhm.
And uh, I had to learn that I was prepared for the moment. And I'll get into that, because those some other things I talk about.
Okay.
You got to be understand that you're prepared for the moment. If you're not prepared, you have to get prepared.
Mhm.
Because when I was divorced, I was married at first, but then I had to get prepared to be single again.
Mhm.
And when I got to be single again, I could not allow myself to be loose.
Mhm.
I wish I had a witness. And I had to kind of, have some structure and
Mhm.
balance and
Mhm.
boundaries
Mhm.
to my life,
Mhm.
because it's easy. And so I had to assess myself, and I had to really assess where I was,
Mhm.
because a lot of times in relationships, maybe divorce, break up from the person you've been with, uh, there is a lot of trauma that goes along with that.
Mhm.
And you can easily stray away and lose yourself
Mhm.
because you feel like I've been with this person, I've done this, and now who am I? Because your identity has been attached to someone else.
Mhm.
And so you have to now, in corporate America, they call rebranding.
Mhm.
There are times in life we have to rebrand ourselves
Okay.
after a moment of trauma, after a moment of disappointment, and we have to come back but we have to be true with ourselves. And we
Mhm.
cannot blame it, Marcus, and those who are listening on the other individual. We have to look at ourselves.
That's good advice. That's great advice. Thank you for that. We're talking with Edward C. Turner, Pastor Turner. I might say Edward C. Turner,
It's
and I
cool.
apologize.
Thank you. No,
Uh,
it's cool.
so Kamal Williams is joining us on LinkedIn. He says, there is a champion in me. I asked people at the outset, and thank you, Kamal, to drop in the comments, is there a champion in you? We're talking with the author of tell me the title again, uh,
The mind of a champion, a
and
cognitive approach to achieving your personal best.
yeah, I want to talk to you about that cognitive approach a little bit, but we're talking with him. So if you have questions for him, and we'll make sure that we drop the link where you can purchase his book, um, drop those in the comments if you have questions for him. We're learning more about him and his book. So click share and tag some folks to join us in the conversation. I wanted to talk to you about, you mentioned your mom, bless her memory, passed away on December 24th on Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
2016.
yeah.
Tell us about your relationship with your mom, and what did you learn from her about her being an entrepreneur, about championship, this mindset? What did you learn from her?
Well, my mother, and it has to do with my core values. I have to mention this
Sure.
uh, right now. One my core values that led me in life were excellence, commitment, and teamwork. I know we might get to that, but and that excellence piece came from her
Okay.
because my mother taught I am uh, my mother had 4 children.
Okay.
I am the second oldest out of 4. And she always taught us a sense of pride.
Hmm.
And she would make this statement just like this. She said, "You all will not go out of this house any kind of way
Mm-hmm.
because you are Nancy's children."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She made sure that we were decent and in order. She made sure. And so, what she taught me was make sure that you present yourself well. And not only just externally, but internally.
Mm-hmm.
She made sure that we had a relationship with the Lord. We listen, most people say this and most people have heard it. We were drug babies. We were drugged to Sunday school, we drugged to church. And she made sure because she told us, she said, the Lord told us to keep her children in church.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's how she raised us.
Yeah.
And so she gave us a sense of pride, not only uh, externally, but internally. We had to have our internal correct in order for our external to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mother was a phenomenal woman. I had so much respect and admiration for her.
Mm-hmm.
Most people say I look like my mother,
Okay.
and they said me and my mother, that's not disrespectfully, but
Mm-hmm.
we would clash because I was her pastor as well.
Okay.
And it wasn't listen, I want to tell young people, don't disrespect your mother.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
And so, but she was a phenomenal woman. I was just in awe at how in her senior yearbook, she wrote that she wanted 4 children,
Mm.
2 boys, I don't know how this came to pass, 2 boys, 2 girls.
Wow.
She has 2 boys, 2 girls. She wanted to own her own beauty salon.
Wow.
And I was in awe when I ran across it as I was fumbling through some old, uh, memorabilia that she had locked away. And I was in awe. And I just thought she was a remarkable woman, a woman of dignity, pride. And I love my mother. She was also my nurse
Mm-hmm.
as a preacher, pastor,
Mm-hmm.
one of my nurses. And it's nothing like your mother taking care of you.
Yeah.
And so I appreciated that. And she's well missed. And But I thank God that she raised us in a way
Mm-hmm.
that we put the Lord first. And I understood to be, even though I miss her, I know she's in a better place. And even in her death, I saw her mindset, which was the mind of a champion.
Mm-hmm.
As her son, as her pastor, my faith was increased because I saw the way she handled. She died of pancreatic cancer.
Wow.
She battled with it for 5 years. Pancreatic cancer is an aggressive cancer.
Yeah.
She battled with it. They took out her pancreas eventually. I didn't know you can live without a pancreas,
Wow.
but she did that for 5 years. And she just showed me how resilient she was,
Mm-hmm.
how she kept the faith. And because of her stick to itiveness and her determination to always trust in God no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
that strengthened my faith
Mm-hmm.
to a very, very large degree.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that resilience that she has, that resiliency must have impacted not only your ministry but your life.
Yeah.
What would you say is the largest lesson that you learned about resiliency from her?
Never give up.
Mhm,
Keep the faith.
mhm,
Always hope.
mhm,
Because if you lose hope, I've said this before many times, hope, a life without hope is like a balloon without air.
mhm,
You will live a deflated, defeated, discouraged life.
mhm.
And just think about a balloon. We all know a balloon, when it doesn't have air, it's not serving the purpose. So uh, that resiliency, always believe, no matter what, no matter how dim, dark it looks, just always keep the faith.
Right. We're talking with Pastor Edward C. Turner, author of A Mind of the Champion, the cognitive approach to being your personal best.
To achieving your personal best,
To
yes.
achieving your personal best. Thank you so much. I need to jot that down. And Lena Brown has joined us. Dylan Chambers, thank you all. Kamal Williams, thank you all that are joining us now. I hope you will drop in the comments. Are you a champion? Is there a champion in you? We're talking with Pastor Edward Turner on his book, and I hope that you will pick up his book as well. I wanted to ask you now, what was the relationship like with you and your father, and how has that impacted your championship mindset?
Yeah, my father, he was a great man. And let me say this, I'm transparent almost to a fault, but my mother my mother was married to my father. They were divorced when I was 2 years old.
Mhm,
And she married my stepfather. And I would say, Marcus, that I'm blessed because I had my biological father
mhm,
and I had my stepfather.
mhm.
And I call both of them my fathers.
Okay.
They are two great.
I think you hit your mute by mistake. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha. Yep.
Oh, I've been blessed with two fathers. I know some people may think that's strange, but I've been blessed with two great men in my life, and they impacted my life greatly in many different ways.
Mhm,
And they have been there, and that's all I know.
mhm,
So they have my father, biological father, and my uh, both fathers have taught me hard work.
mhm,
They taught me a good work ethic. My father was one who worked hard. He had challenges in his life, but he did not allow that to stop him with some disabilities. But he still worked hard, and I was right there working right with him,
mhm,
doing some of the labor jobs that he
mhm,
had me doing. So he
mhm,
taught me a sense of hard work,
mhm,
and I saw the pride that he took in doing the work that he did. Maybe it was uh, roofing.
mhm.
My father was a jack of all trades, and they say a master of none.
Okay.
But he, but he did it with a sense of pride. He was a mechanic. I saw him work on cars.
Mhm,
He took me fishing.
mhm.
He did those things with me and gave me a sense of pride. And that's one thing most people don't know, that I love fishing.
Wow. Okay.
I love to go fishing.
Okay.
And so even this year, me and my father's been going fishing several times. But so he taught me a sense of hard work and pride.
Mhm,
And don't he also, I saw in him, whether he said it or not, because I'm a kinesthetic learner. I
mhm,
learn by watching.
Mhm.
And I saw in him that no matter what, he had an attitude of a resilient spirit as well.
Mhm.
He told me in working on cars, he didn't want to let anything defeat him.
Mm.
So in being a mechanic, you have to be meticulous
Mhm.
because you have to remember where this goes, where that goes. And to see him function in that capacity was really encouraging. And I learned to appreciate it as I got older. Yeah.
And how important is that hard work to this mind of a champion? How important is hard work to that?
I think, I mean, it's very important because I think I say in my book that if you're going to be a champion, you got to understand three things. You got to have the passion to win,
Mhm.
you have to prepare to win, then you have to perform to win.
Mm.
See, a lot of people, they have passion, but they want to move from passion to performance.
Mhm.
But that one in the middle, preparation,
Mhm.
that's where the hard work comes in. Because once you identify your passion, now you have to prepare yourself to perform.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't want to prepare themselves to perform.
Mhm.
And we don't know how long that takes. And I got that from being an athlete. I couldn't go out and just run, but I had to practice.
Mhm.
And the practice was sometimes the most difficult uh, task. And I get that from Michael Jordan, who was one of my favorite athletes. Michael Jordan stated that he said that he worked hard in practice
Mhm.
because if he worked hard in practice, the game would be easy. And a lot of us, we don't understand. That's where that hard work and that determination come in order to be your best
Mhm.
to perform at an optimal level.
That's awesome. Now tell us about your grandparents. You also mentioned that your grandparents instilled in you and passed down to you some great things about this mind of a champion. So tell us a little bit about them.
Well, I was a grandmother's boy.
Mhm.
She was my we called her Big Mom.
Mhm.
Now, Big Mom, my grandfather, I love my grandparents, both my grandparents now. Let me say this with my biological father, I did not get a chance to meet my grandparents on that side
Okay.
because they passed away when he was younger.
Okay.
But what I told you, my stepfather,
Mhm.
they were my grandparents
Yeah.
as well. And so my being a big mom's boy, she gave me nuggets of wisdom all the time,
Mhm.
such as I would share with her different experiences in life about people when in my younger age, she would say, "Baby, you can't change nobody." She said, "You'll be sick, crazy in the hospital, and they'll still be doing the same thing they're doing."
Mm.
She shared with me different nuggets of wisdom about life, and I would talk to her often. I visited her often. She lived in Columbus, Georgia,
Mm.
and we would go down there yearly for my grandfather was a farmer
Mm.
in Hurstboro, Alabama. My other grandparents, they were in Magnolia, Alabama. They
Mm.
had farms. I saw my grandfather plowing. This may be outdated for some people, but I saw him plowing his field with a mule.
Wow.
He had cattle. I saw him move cattle from one pasture to another.
Wow.
They both had my grandfather, my mother's father had horses. So I just saw this work ethic in them, and I appreciate it more as I become an adult because I said, "Wow, when God said we would have dominion over animals,
Mhm.
my grandfather literally would move hundreds of cattle from one pasture to the next."
Mm.
And so my other grandfather, he had horses and other animals, and so I just seen them work hard. I have a deep my roots are deep rooted in the South of Alabama, so I'm really a country boy that lives in the city.
Okay. All right. All right. And so let's get into define for us what is this mind of a champion? What is a champion? What is your definition of a champion?
Most of us think that a champion, and by right, because it is one who takes first place in an event,
Mhm.
you succeed or you have mastery over another. But I put a twist on it for every one of us. because I said the champion, per my definition, is one who achieves or performs at their very best.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna tell you why I came to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Because in track, in cross country, oftentimes my coach would tell me, he said, Turner, you ran your personal best. And this was the irony in this, Marcus. I didn't win the race, but I ran my personal best.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to encourage individuals that in life, you may not, quote unquote, get first place,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you perform at your best, as long as you know that you've done your best, then you have the mind of a champion.
Mm-hmm.
And it also centered around the fact of Jesus, that when he took off his royal regalia and laid it down, it said he thought it not robbery to be equal with man.
Yeah.
He left heaven because he had a purpose. He made himself low. And so therefore, in order to assist someone else. And now there's a twist on that. But that's where I get my idea from Mind of a Champion.
So it is really not first place. It is the best place. It's the place that you have planned and prepared. You have your passion aligned with your preparation and your performance at some optimal level.
That's right.
Is that a fair summation? Okay. Tabitha Goodner says, what a model. She says, life without hope is likened to a balloon without air. Its purpose cannot be fulfilled. Yeah, that's what he was saying, deflated. Don Renee Ori has joined us as well. We're talking to Pastor Edward C. Turner from Gary, Indiana. But as you can see, he's got some down south roots down in there. And he's talking about, from his book, The Mind of a Champion. I wanted to hear more about these three core principles of championship. You've already talked about excellence, but I want you to delve some more into that. When you say excellence, what do you mean?
When I think about excellence, I want to make sure that you give your very best. This is an example. There was one time my senior year on the track team, on the 4x4 relay, one of the number one runner, the first leg of the relay got hurt, and my coach called on me. Now, I was a distance runner. Anybody know the 4x4 relay is everybody run a quarter, which is one lap around the track. He called on me to run, and I was wondering, why did he call on me? But Marcus, he must have called on me because he believed that I could do it. Now, I got the baton as the first leg of that race, and I ran the best race that I could, and I passed the baton off. That was the best I could do. And I passed it off. The next guy ran, the next guy ran, the next guy ran. And lo and behold, that team that year, even with me as an alternate, we made it to state championship.
Wow, that's excellent.
But even though my time wasn't as fast as, as others, but I did the best I can do. And so in life excellence, make sure that you do the best that you can do. Don't compare yourself with anyone else. Make sure you're doing the best you could do. Commitment. And this is the thing that most of us, we have a good idea, but we're not committed to it.
Now, is the commitment the second one?
Yes.
I didn't want you to leave excellence. That was sounding good. That was good.
Okay.
And I don't want you to tell us the whole book either, because I want people to buy it. But when you were talking about excellence, something that resonated in that with me, Pastor Turner, is you were called upon to do something that you had not been called upon to do before, or you didn't quite know if you were the person for the job.
Right.
And so how important is it when you haven't set a standard or baseline for people to be open, that when someone gives you an opportunity, when opportunity knocks, that you have to answer, because I think that God is creating pathways and portals all the time for us to realize the champion and excellence in us. But we aren't always open to hearing something that we're not either passionate about, interested in, or feel that we're qualified for. So we discount it and say,
Right.
well, that's not for me. But maybe it is God using people to bring to our awareness that there is greater potential in us. So speak to people today who have no standard of excellence, or maybe no real regard for it, about how he or she might be more open when opportunities knock.
I think if I can use the situation that this world is in now, this pandemic, I believe we've been forced into a place. We've been shifted, and it has caused all of us to bring out the best in us, to think differently, to accept and to adjust. A lot of people, Marcus, I believe, it's difficult for them to adjust because they have not accepted. And so therefore, you made a statement and alluded to something that I say often. I say, God does not make decisions for us, but God guides us, and he wants to into the places where we need to be, but it's for us to make the decision. And so when we are presented with opportunities, we have to just do what we probably don't even understand that we were prepared to do. And a lot of us, we've been preparing in such a way that we don't even know we've been preparing. A lot of us have had a lot of experience, those who've been working in, for instance, if you have a job in corporate America, you have gotten a lot of insight and information as to how to be a business professional. And now is your opportunity to now apply those principles to your life and to open and establish your own company and your own business. And there are times that we're forced into situations. And so you take what you've learned, you were just being prepared, but you weren't thinking about being prepared. And so now is your opportunity. And we're sometimes in moments and situations that we don't know what we've been prepared for. So now all we have to do is think back and just believe. This is the champion mindset. Believe in the preparation. Stop being so dependent on systems and be dependent on the source, which is God. God is the source of any system. And if he has placed you, he has prepared you for your purpose. And so I want to encourage every individual. I said in this pandemic, I said there are times where we are forced into a space. We were forced into this shift.
Yeah.
And we have to learn how to settle in the shift.
Yes.
And so in this shift, we have to learn how to be our very best and pull, draw, evaluate on those experiences, opportunities that are presented to us in order to be our personal best. And that's your excellence. My excellence is not Marcus' excellence. You're excellent at what you do because you're being your very best, even by opening up this stream, this avenue to people to encourage them. You're being excellent at what you do.
I appreciate that. I'm certainly trying. And what I think I'm hearing is that your current preparation is for your future performance. And that's really what you can look toward as being your path to excellence. When you use what you're learning now, what you're experiencing now as a lesson of preparedness, you'll be able to perform it in the future. And your measurement is to see, did you use what you learned? Okay, I put you in a tight space. Did you learn anything? And did you use it?
Right.
Okay, all right. Talk to us about that second value, commitment. Commitment.
Now that's difficult for a lot of us because we've been let down by so many people. we've committed ourselves to, whether it's a job, relationship, family, any type of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But when you know you've been called to something,
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn to stick with it. When it may not go, a lot of people, we make New Year's resolutions, and a lot of people are against those.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we ought to resolve some things in our spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But when it doesn't look like we want it to look or feel like we want it to feel,
Mm-hmm.
we disconnect. But I want to encourage individuals, just because it doesn't look like you want it to look, feel like you want it to feel, you have to stay committed to the task.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that the enemy, I know that negative spirits wants to break you, derail you, and deny you your destiny. But you have to, that goes back to that resilient spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay committed
Mm-hmm.
to the task
Mm-hmm.
and don't allow anything to break you from your destiny and where you're headed to. And I think if people can just stay committed, commitment is and I do get it, I do understand, because I want to be sympathetic to people who have really, really have tried, Marcus, and they were all in with their job, and they done them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They abused them.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes, and that commitment goes with trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do I trust this? Can I trust again?
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe? So I want to be sympathetic to those people who have really been abused by systems and people, and uh, but I still don't want that to be an excuse,
Mm-hmm.
because when you know you're called, I think Jesus says it like this: in this world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer, because I've overcome this world. Uh, he said, the enemy will come to try to discourage you, but greater is he
Mm-hmm.
that is in me
Mm-hmm.
than he that is in the world. But you have to know that you've been called to it. You have to know that this is your destiny and not just a good idea.
Yeah, I want to ask you, because that commitment part is a difficult thing,
Yeah.
especially if you've tried it, been committed as you described, and for whatever reason it didn't come to fruition or it didn't work out. How do you recommit when it did not work? And maybe related to that, how do you determine when you're committed to the wrong thing or people or situation?
That's often very difficult to assess. But when you begin to see, especially with people, and I know a lot of people, a lot of times, especially talking about love and stuff, we're going to go to relationship.
All the time.
All
Even
the time.
though I tell people there are so many layers to love, and we ignore the self-love more often than not, but there's so many layers to love that are an outspurt of the agape love, right?
Right.
But we always navigate and find our way to that love relationship. Yes.
And that's understandable, because we're people who've been made to be in fellowship with people,
Mhm.
and I know a lot of times who we are connected to at home. It's almost like when we go on our job, we can deal better on the job if my home life was better.
Mhm.
And so that's why sometimes people, because we're relational people, but that commitment, it could be very difficult. But you have to go back to what I said earlier. You have to assess yourself,
Mhm.
and then you have to develop patience.
Mhm.
If I can use, it's an old contemporary term, that's why it's contemporary, but you can't be thirsty.
Mm.
You have to develop patience.
But I want to drink, Reverend. I want to drink. So it's hard to hear that for some people
Right.
when everybody else seems to be drinking from the cistern of sweet water, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else seems to be so satiated, so in a place of relationship wealth. And so here's my one opportunity, and I'm thirsty because
Right.
I want it. I don't want to wait. And I'm living in this microwave reality, online dating, and all of that. I don't want to wait. So it's hard in that environment for me to commit. What do you say to that person? All of those folks that are in Love and Stuff community that say that.
So now, one thing about when you're thirsty, just remember this: you're responsible for what you drink.
Yeah, that's good, sir. That's good
So
stuff.
now, years ago they would say, "Don't drink pop when you're thirsty because it does not quench your thirst."
Yeah.
So now you're responsible for what you drink, but you now have to have the patience enough to assess. And I'll go, since we're here, assess the person.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it looks good,
Mm-hmm.
smells good, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever
Mm-hmm.
good it is to you at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because what people sometimes they try to do is they try to appease their senses.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are they are captured by the interpersonal relationship,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't have enough patience to understand the intrapersonal.
Mm-hmm.
I need to understand what this person is about because I didn't have the good looks, the external stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I need to understand some values.
Mm-hmm.
I need to understand what this and to have enough patience enough
Mm-hmm.
not to be so thirsty or
Mm-hmm.
captivated
Mm-hmm.
by what I see,
Mm-hmm.
but just slow things down. I was a distance runner, I tell people. So I learned Marcus pace.
Mm-hmm.
I was also a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
The drummer is, you know that, the drummer is the timekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know how to time, you got to know how to, so you got to have pace. So I've learned in life, through disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
I've learned how to keep pace
Mm-hmm.
instead of always trying to sprint,
Mm-hmm.
get there fast.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
slow down.
Yeah.
I know people are saying, well, I ain't got that much time to wait. But remember, you're responsible for what you drink.
Yeah. I like that. That might be the hashtag. I got to tell our senior associate producer to make sure he drops that in the comments. You're responsible for what you drink. I like that. It made me think of when you were talking about, slow down because the race is not given to the swift,
Right.
the strong, but to the one that endures until the end.
Mhm.
So you got to build that stamina, endurance, perseverance, and patience.
Right.
I love that. Oh, so in this mindset of commitment, is tell me more about, is the commitment more to self, to
Yeah.
commitment to God, commitment to your goals, all of the above?
Yeah. All of the above.
Hmm.
I believe that number one, your commitment to God is paramount.
Mhm.
That's number one.
Mhm.
Because God helps us in His Word, and that's the commitment to God. The
Mhm.
Word of God for me has been my springboard
Mhm.
because it helped me to understand who I was.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for the Word of God, because you've been saying something about the whole idea, your goal, your vision, love and stuff. You have to love yourself.
Mhm.
And when I begin to love myself,
Mhm.
because I start looking at myself how God saw me.
Mhm.
Then my perspective changed about everything.
Mhm.
And so God, and then when I begin to love myself, because I can never adequately love someone else if I don't love myself.
Yeah.
Because if people were really paying attention, if people were paying attention, just just look at how someone loves themselves.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then they'll show you how they're going to love you.
Absolutely. I often, when I'm talking to people and I ask them, and I'm not a licensed psychologist, just to make sure everybody understands the disclaimer, but when I'm talking to people and we're talking about love, because we're always talking about love and stuff here,
Right.
I ask them, who do they love in their life the most? Who's the person that they love the most? And most people will say their spouse or their children. Some people say God, some
Yes.
people. but nobody ever says myself.
That's right.
And so I always bring into that conversation, well, how do you feel about yourself?
Right.
And everybody struggles on the self. You know,
That's right.
no one ever asked me that. I said, well, do you think you're supposed to love yourself? Is there anything that you're supposed to be putting in the love for yourself? Is there any self-love? We talk about self-care.
Right.
So is there any self-love? And most people are stumped by that. They're like, I never thought of me as love. I said, well, the person that's watching you is watching how you love yourself. And that's why they're treating you, because you're giving them permission to treat you a way that you treat yourself.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
if you love yourself, somebody knows it. And if you don't, somebody knows it, right?
That's right.
And so
That's
they
right.
act accordingly when they come into your life based on how you're acting. I would
Right.
think that if you're committed to a mindset of championship, that people will see that coming into your life. Do
Right.
you agree with that? Will people
I
see
agree with that
that you've
wholeheartedly.
got some commitment, that they might not come to you if they're not a committed person, if they see that you're committed?
Right. And that has to be the first after. That's what I was going to say. After God, then you have to be. Thank you, Marcus, for actually just putting it in perspective. Because after you love God, you then have to love yourself.
Mhm,
Because loving God teaches you to love yourself.
mhm,
Then you can love other people.
mhm,
And so there has to be a commitment to love God. That's why I said all those. Then when you love yourself and other people, then you can have that love to pursue your goals.
mhm,
And a lot of times we do things out of order.
mhm,
And I would say jokingly but sincerely, I say I wish people uh, could be like the vending machine that says out of order.
mhm,
Because what happens is there are some people that I saw over the years. The sign would clearly be on the vending machine and says out of order, but there would be people still trying to put their money in to get something out.
mhm, mhm,
And that's how sometimes we function with each other.
mhm, mhm,
We're out of order, and it's okay. It doesn't mean if it's something. All of us are out of order eventually, sooner or
mhm,
later, because life does it to you.
mhm.
And so, but there has to be a commitment to love God, love ourselves. Then we can pursue the goals and be committed to that.
Yes. Our senior associate producer has put our hashtag out there. You are responsible for what you drink. Thank you for that, Pastor Turner. I think the folks that are ready to drink, I won't call y'all thirsty tonight, but I'll say the folks that are ready to drink, you are responsible for what you drink. So
Yes.
I want to make sure that you get that hashtag and share it. Lena Brown on Facebook is saying, and hello, Lena Brown, thank you for being with us, sister. She says, stay focused is what I struggle with. I'm trying. Can you give any advice to someone who's struggling with the commitment, struggling with staying focused from your time as a distance runner? How did you stay focused, and how can we glean some lessons from that and from your book about being committed, being focused to our commitment?
So, I would ask Sister Brown, what is her focus?
Mhm,
See,
mhm,
sometimes our focus is wrong. We're
mm,
not focused on the right thing.
great
And
point.
so that is what is the focus.
Mhm,
And as it relates to me running, my focus was, if in cross country, for instance, or even track,
mhm,
my focus was on finishing.
mhm. That's
My
good.
focus was on finishing.
Mhm,
I even stated, I said, I might slow down, but I'll never stop running.
mm, that's good.
And my focus was always on finishing.
Mhm,
And so that led to my commitment. I may not get first place,
mhm,
but I will finish this race.
mm,
And
that's good.
so, yeah.
So, Lena, if you want to drop in the comments, or you might, now I know Pastor Turner's single, but if you inbox him and get the answer, that's all I want you to get. That's all I want you to get. But you might drop in the comments. His question to you is, what's your focus? What is it that you're focusing on? I think that's important. You got to have focus clarity. You got to be clear on what you're focusing on, and your goal to be to finish that. So oftentimes we start stuff, won't finish it, start stuff, won't finish it, start something new, won't finish it. And sometimes life will hit you that you might have to stop and regroup. but you got to, if you are committed and called to that purpose, that focus, then you have to see it through until the end. I think is what Pastor Turner is telling us. Tell us about the third core value.
That is teamwork.
Hmm.
Now, in life, is simply this: we're going to need the assistance of other individuals.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to need somebody to help us along life's way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this in conjunction with something you just said, Marcus, as it relates to what is the focus.
Mm-hmm.
I never forget, I went to the gym one day, and I hope this blessed somebody. And I have this in my book. But I went to the gym one day, and the guy saw me lifting weights. It's when I first started. And he came over to me and he assisted me. Teamwork. I didn't know him. He asked me my name. I told him Ed. He said, Ed, let me help you out. He said, he put the weight as my spot. He said, now, when you lift this weight, before you lift this weight, the first thing I want you to do is lay on that bench. And I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to see yourself doing it before you do it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, this is called positive visualization.
Mm-hmm.
And I laid on that bench, Marcus, and I closed my eyes, and I saw myself lifting the weight before I lifted it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been practicing that principle in life, not just lifting weights,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I see myself doing it
Mm-hmm.
before I do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's simply this: I see myself in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and I go and grab my future and I bring it to my present.
Right, right.
And I function in the moment as if I'm in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what that teamwork does. Somebody help me to do something. And one more other thing, this last example. I remember I told you I had to run that 4x4 relay.
Mm-hmm.
My brother, my friend Michael Lane, he was the last leg on that race. He had already made it to state in the 1600, the mile, and the 800. And after that race, Marcus, we made it to state. I think I told you that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Ed, this week came up to me. He said, Ed, the reason I ran like I did, I knew it was your senior year.
Mm.
And I wanted my brother to make it to state.
Wow.
Because I didn't make it in the 1600.
Wow.
We're going to need the help of somebody else
Wow.
in order to get to a place that we probably didn't think about, wasn't trying to go. Somebody in life is going to help you get somewhere else in life. That's what teamwork is to me. And I shared that with him to this day. And that's how I live my life. Help somebody
Mm-hmm.
get to a place where they don't even think they can go. They're not thinking about going.
Mm-hmm.
That's that teamwork in which I'm talking about.
Okay. So this champion mind has a sense of community, has a sense of a collective that we all get to win or achieve our greatness, our optimal selves by some assistance from others. It's not a journey alone that you stand on. Even if you stood and got the trophy, someone helped you to get there. There was
That's
some
right.
assistance for you to get there. I love that.
And also, most importantly for me, as I highlighted Philippians 2, 5, and 11, when Jesus came from heaven, he came and left his throne in glory to help us get to where he was.
Mm-hmm.
He died on the cross. He sacrificed so that we can also obtain eternal life.
Yeah.
And that is the crux of this mindset of a champion.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesus had that mindset of a champion, and he took the champion route so that we would know how to go.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. Lena Brown is saying thank you. She's thanking you. She said, that's good teamwork. I like the way he explained it. Thank you so much. Well, I hope that you all will get his book. I do want to talk to you a little bit, pivot a little bit, because you are the president of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Convention there in Indiana. I want to talk to you because we need a champion, sir, in the White House.
Yes.
We need some people to stand up and be champions in this process. What will you say to people about having a mind to be engaged in our process so that we have leadership that is excellent, that is about team, that is about commitment? What would you say to us that we need to do as a people, as a race, as a country, as a nation?
I want to let everybody know, especially those who have melanin in their skin, that if your life is really going to matter, if your Black life is really going to matter, you need to get out and vote. Because that's what makes your life matter. I quote this often, Marcus. I remember Dr. King as I visited the Rosa Parks Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. Etched on the walls of the Rosa Parks Museum, he says this. He says, I want the young people coming behind me to know that the liberties that they have came at a price. Somebody had to die. Somebody went to jail. Somebody was beaten for the liberties, the freedom that we have. And I want those who look like me, who don't look like me, to get out there and vote. Your vote matters. Stop saying that your vote does not matter. If you believe your Black life matters, then I want you to believe that your vote matters. And make your way to the polls so that we can have leadership that is excellent, that is committed, and don't mind working with others to have that teamwork so that we all can win in the mind of the champion.
And thank you for that. I think it's so important because there is a contingent of the melanin that do not believe that it is important to vote, do not believe that they need to exercise their right to vote, and a contingent, maybe a faction of that contingent that believes that because their candidate isn't the candidate,
right,
that they should not vote, that they should sit it out and say, well, you know, the person that I wanted, there would never be a perfect candidate.
Right.
But I just, you know, I want to impress upon anybody that will hear your voice as a clarion call that we have to get out to vote. And so for the people whose candidate didn't, you know, become vice president or the presidential candidate, what do you say to them when their pick is not in the race?
This is what I want you to know. Remember, a champion doesn't mean you always come in first place. A champion means you do your part and make sure that you've done your best. And when you've done your best, and your best in the instance in which we are talking is to get out there and vote, that does not make you a loser. That makes you a winner because you played your part.
That's good. So, Pastor Turner, thank you so much for coming on. Where can we get your book? Tell us where they can follow you on. I'm looking at some of the comments. Tell us where they can follow you on social media, or maybe where they can follow the church. Give us all of that information.
Yeah, you can go to Amazon and you can purchase the book from Amazon. You can also follow me on my Facebook page. You can follow my church, New Revelation Missionary Baptist Church. And if you desire a book, our team will make sure that you will get the book. I'm going to be in the process also of revising the book. And so therefore, if you desire this copy, you can have it at one of those outlets. Amazon, follow me on Facebook, And you can follow my church on Facebook as well. And Marcus, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you for coming. Like I said, I've been trying to get you on for a little bit. I am peacock proud that you were able to come and honored that you were able to come. Tell us the name of the church so that people can follow your church as well.
New Revelation Missionary Baptist Church, and that is in Gary, Indiana.
Okay.
New Revelation in Gary.
And are you all having services in person or online? How are you worshiping?
Yes, we're worshiping. There's a contingent of people that come to church, but everybody's not comfortable, which we understand. But we're also on Facebook Live every Sunday at 10:50 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can tune in, and we'll be blessed to have you if you so desire.
Wonderful. And any final lesson that you want to leave with us, or a story that you want to leave with us that kind of will pique our readers, our viewers rather, to purchase the book? Any final story about the mind of a champion?
I want to tell you all, there was one story I want to leave with you, and it's a life lesson that I take with me. A lot of my thoughts come from my days in running track. There was a time when I was in our sectional meet, and I started off in last place. I was a junior in high school. I started off in last place, and there was a group of runners before me, and my buddy Michael Lane was leading the pack. And I asked myself, I said, what are you doing back here? And I made it up in my mind to get out of last place. I ran past the pack, and I caught up with my teammate, Michael Lane. And we ran to the finish line together. I want to encourage somebody. You may feel like you're in last place, but you have to make it up in your mind that you don't belong in that position. Gather yourself, use all the energy and effort you can to change your position. And when you do that, you may not win, but then you'll have the mind of a champion. God bless you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate you for coming. Thank you so much. Edward C. Turner, pastor, speaker, leader of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. State Convention in Indiana, and author, and we hope that you will get his book. Thank you so much for joining us.
God bless you, Marcus. God bless you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
What a great interview with Pastor Edward C. Turner. I hope that you will click share, and I hope that it will challenge for you. Is there a champion in you? Do you have a passion that's meeting your preparedness to be able to perform so that you will be excellent, committed, and a team worker? There is a champion in you. And in order to bring that champion up and to rise to greatness, you've got to connect with the love that is in you. You've got to examine yourself, like Pastor Turner said. And even if you fall down, and we will fall down, you have to examine your steps, your focus, get your commitment, and do the very best that you can do to finish the race. Love yourself. Get in touch with the quintessential love that is poured into you for you to develop the love for yourself and then your neighbor as yourself. I'm Marcus Holmes. This has been a great Love and Stuff. I hope you will click share this content widely. We will drop in the comments the link for you to be able to purchase the book, and also other information to follow Pastor Edward Turner. We thank him for joining us tonight. Thank you all for joining us across all platforms. We'll see you on the Gratefulness Journey. If not, we'll see you next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Love and Stuff. Have a great night.